Someone asked me recently, do I enjoy going to confession? And I think the honest answer to that is, no, I don't enjoy it, but I've come to value it very much in my life, and I see it valued by many people who have come to celebrate the sacrament with me as a priest. See, I learnt about the sacrament as most young Catholics do at about the age of 7, and I learnt a formula. That's how we did things best when we were 6, 7, 8 years old, just learning how to present ourselves in the sacrament. So I learnt this formula, which I think is very familiar to many, many Catholics. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's such and such a time since my last confession. These are my sins. I've not said my morning and night prayers. I've not been pleasant to people around me. I've been disobedient to my parents. That's the sort of thing that I learnt then. And when I'd made my first confession, nobody actually told me about changing the formula, that it should be mine and personal to me about the things that I'd done wrong. So I was going to confession as a young boy, probably every 2 weeks or so, always coming up with the same formula because no one said I could change it. And so it went on. And in a way, I suppose I didn't value the sacrament then. It was simply something that I did as a child. But when I got to about 13 or 14, I began to question, was it really relevant to me? Was it helpful to me? But at that time I knew a priest, and I was able to speak to him about it very honestly, and he was very sympathetic in what I had to say, and we discussed it at some length. And I was also then able to discuss with 1 or 2 friends who were thinking about faith in their lives and how best to strengthen their faith and practice it. And I came to a much clearer understanding, which I think I've gone on developing in my own life, about the value of the sacrament of reconciliation, what we call confession. You see, I think it's a time of great grace. And I now approach it in a very different way. I don't have a formula as such. I think about things in preparation for the sacrament. And I think about 2 specific aspects of my life. What is my relationship with God, and what is my relationship with other people? And then I begin to think carefully about anything that may have gone wrong in my life. And I'm afraid things do come up quite quickly. I know, because I feel uncomfortable about something that's happened, or some attitude I've got, or something that I feel is missing in my life. So if I think about my relationship with God, I wonder about prayer. Do I put myself in the presence of God? Do I slow up my busy life? We've all got such a lot to do, haven't we? Do I slow myself down and think, where is God in my life? Where has he been today in the actions and the opportunities that I've had? Have I let him down? Have I ignored him? Have I failed to do something that I could have done far better than I did? And then I think about the church to which I belong. Do I really understand what it teaches? Because being a Catholic is so much more than just believing things. It's actually putting my faith into action. And the Catholic Church teaches us that it's our actions and our decisions and our choices every day which are so important in what we do. And Pope Francis says we are all missionary disciples, so we live our faith. We go out and we show what we believe by the actions we undertake. And then I ask, how have I been with other people? What's my relationship like with them? And there may have been an incident where I've ignored somebody in need, or I've not listened carefully to someone who's come looking for some help or advice, that I've perhaps not worked hard enough in preparation for something I've been asked to do, and missed an opportunity there to proclaim my faith, to show it in action in my attitude and my behaviour with other people. And I can put those into very simple terms when I go to the sacrament. And I can say to the priest quite openly, this is where I think I've gone wrong. And that's very helpful to me, because I believe that if we know what we've done wrong, we can learn from our mistakes. We can be so much stronger for recognising what's not been right in our lives. Because I think life is a long journey, full of experiences. And very often, the first time we do something, we get it wrong because we're inexperienced. And we can learn how to do things better. And when we get things wrong, we have a loving and merciful God who longs to forgive us and really is inviting us to start again a little bit wiser because we've recognized what's gone wrong in our lives. I worry very much about our modern way of life. It's so full of activity. We're rushing from place to place. It's full of noise. We're always listening to music or to programs, to television, to radio, whatever it is. And we're rushing from one place to another. We're into meetings and rushing to get the next thing done. And very often I think we miss that stillness in our lives where we think about the way we do things. Are we behaving in the best way? Are we being helpful to other people? Are we recognizing that God actually wants to work through us? He wants us to be his missionary disciples and bring the gospel to the people around us. I think Pope Francis is teaching us a simplicity of the gospel and telling us that our lives are about trying to love people and trying to recognize love for our neighbour, which is everybody in our world. We've got to look after our world and make sure that people are not pushed to the margins and ignored or left in poverty and without dignity. And there's ways in which I interact with that, and I recognise sometimes where I've got things wrong. So no, I don't enjoy going to confession, but I do think it's an important part of living my faith. The opportunity to think about what's gone wrong, maybe those things that I'm missing out doing, which I could be doing, which would make me a better missionary disciple in the way I try to live my life. And I know that I come away from confession feeling that I've got a fresh start, that whatever may have gone wrong in my life has been forgiven by a merciful God who is only too pleased to forgive and invites me to learn from my mistake and start again. And I've been a priest now for nearly 40 years, and it's important to me to know that many people have used this sacrament, and I've been very privileged to be in that sacrament with them, and that they felt strengthened and reassured. Because there are many people who carry guilt in their lives. Something gone wrong, they may not even be particularly responsible for what's gone wrong, but they still feel very guilty about something. And I believe that by being able to articulate it in a conversation with a priest in the confessional can be very reassuring and life-giving and forgiving, so that people can start again and recognize that their lives haven't been bruised and wounded by what's gone wrong. They can be all the stronger now, learning from their mistake and starting again. So I think confession is important, certainly important to me, because I know that I'm learning all the time. And by thinking about what's gone wrong, I can be learning and being a little bit wiser and changing my life so that perhaps I can be a better priest, a better Christian, a better missionary disciple. And I can learn from other people too. And I know that God, because he loves me, because he loves us all, longs to forgive me and invites me to start again. So here now are some questions that we might ask ourselves about confession.